We have a crazy topic today.
We have some shit to get into.
Yeah.
You guys, we had a fight.
We had a fight. I don't think in 22 years we've ever had a fight. I think that there were times we probably felt like we should have fought. Yeah. And we just swept it under the rug.
Yeah.
It's so interesting being friends with someone for this long because it's almost like there's this pressure. I don't know if you feel that way. We've never talked about that, but for me, it's like, well, Chloe and I have been friends for 22 years. Yeah. Like, I can't not have her in my life. You've been in my, and like, obviously I love you.
Well, it's like you wouldn't get rid of a sibling. To have a fight in your adulthood, late 20s, early 30s, your circle becomes more refined. Yeah. And it can feel more like limited or sparse. To have a argument with someone when in the past, maybe you've never had an actual argument with a friend. Right. Like whatever the difference is results in like just the end of that relationship. Yeah. That feels so scary when all you know is like, I got upset with this person, we couldn't talk it out, and now they're not in my life anymore. Yeah. I was thinking about this not too long ago. We've been friends for 22 years, but this is the most time we've spent together since we were in grade school. Yeah. I think it's a huge win and massively impressive that like we have been distant for the last decade, essentially. Yeah. We've talked about doing a podcast for years, but we kind of jumped into this. Yeah. And then I think people can feel it too. Like I think a good stretch of our episodes, like, things were just tense, like there was just like almost this like animosity, and like you could just feel that we didn't respect each other. There are episodes that I wish we could make disappear where I feel like when one of us is talking, the other is waiting for an opportunity to attack. I'm getting feedback on like podcast episodes. Oh, same. I meant to tell you. Your chemistry is so different. Your energy is so different. Like the way you guys interact is so different. I'm like, yeah, we had a fight. It's good for the skin. Yeah. Fight, babe. It's healthy. Let's fight. You want to fight right now? Not really. Yeah, not me. It's too early. Give me some time. Let me take a nap. In a world where discomfort is actively avoided, therapy is not accessible to many, we have found that talking it out has been a form of free therapy in itself. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Kelly. And we dive into topics like death, divorce, disordered eating, debt, and every taboo topic in between.
With that, who's ready to get taboo?
Okay. Hi. Oh. God, bully fuzzy hair is sending me. It's so cutie. You look like you just got a bath. You just turned on your microphone light, you fucking dum-dum. Are you really? Oh, I thought you were using your middle finger. I was like, that's a crazy choice. Like turning it off. That's crazy. Crazy. Are you offended? Yeah. Canceled. You're canceled. Canceled. Okay. That's a crazy thing to get canceled over. Yeah, I've seen people canceled for less. I've seen people canceled for less, for sure. Existing. Being That's here. Usually problematic. Yeah, being a person. I don't know. Crazy. Good morning. Oh my God, good morning. Bright and early. So, you guys, we had a sleepover. We had a full-blown sleepover, and Chloe's dad is picking her up at 11. So what do we do? So wholesome. It's so wholesome. And when I say we had a sleepover, like literally you said it, but we sat on my couch and talked. How many hours? 6, 7? Yeah, 7, because you picked me up at 6, and we went to bed at 1:30. Yeah, I really... And I want the people to know there's no lapse of yapping. There was literally not even a breath. No, and you were like, let me pee, I'll be right back. I'm like, why would I stop talking if you're peeing? Leave the door open. What do you mean? And I was like, in my head, I literally had the thought of like, I'm going to give her a break and let her breathe, so I'm going to go pee because I'm not stopping. No. I don't care to stop if you're pissing. No. And like, I also, I think what's concerning is when we get we haven't seen each other in close to a month. Dude, I can't talk about it. Guys, Chloe turned 30. I turned 30. She's 30. I'm a grown-up. She's a real life grown-up. But because of that and your trip and all of that, we haven't seen each other in so long. I kind of wondered if that was going to happen. That we were going to do one of these? No, that we were just going to not stop talking. Oh, yeah. Because we set up the studio, guys, to record last night. Yeah, and it didn't happen. It did not. We had 0%. Too many topics that are not mic appropriate. Correct. Too many things. Believe it or not, there's things that we can't share on the internet. Right. Believe it or not, we put a lot out here. Too much. Sometimes I watch back our episodes and I'm like, all right, Kelly, filter. But like, whatever. I also have this weird, like, I don't really give a there's certain things that I guess are off topic for sure, but like, I don't have like a huge anxiety around it to a fault.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like.
It's almost like, it's like pushing the envelope, just keep
a little
pushing
bit.
it.
Yeah. And I feel, but I also like in my head, I'm like, I don't say anything that crazy. But then I watch back and I'm like, damn it, Kelly.
That was a lot.
That
No,
was
it
too
was
much.
not a lot. No, it was not too much.
But yeah, we went too long. And so there was just so much to yap about.
Well, and there were so many things I'm like, okay, I just need to wait to tell you this in person. Like a voice memo does not do it justice. I need your like in the moment live feedback.
Reactions.
And
I also, the problem with like doing a podcast though and being friends is like I wish there were other podcasters that do this, like that do it with their best friend and weigh in on it. We will not. I feel like there's things I will not share with you.
I will hold back
because I'm like, oh, this is so good for the pod. But then ADHD gets in the way and then I forget it. And then I just don't tell you ever. And I'm like, fuck.
Correct.
What the hell?
It's toxic.
It's so toxic. And I'm like, we have been, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this in this episode a little bit, but it's like, sometimes the pod brain takes over a little bit and I like forget that we're friends. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like I could just tell her these things or like we could just have a conversation.
Yeah, there's that.
Because we're friends, not like, you know, for the sake of like the content.
I don't know if you know, but we've been friends for like 22 years.
Yeah, 22 years is insane. I don't
feel old enough to have a friend.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't like that I'm so old.
I am 22.
I am 20. Oh my God. I'm honestly so glad I'm not 22. If you're out there and you're 22,
about
I'm
being
so
22 is a lot to think about.
It just makes me really tired. It makes me.
It was a crazy way to live.
I just like.
I'm just so grateful for everything I've learned since 22. 20s are school, life school.
20s are school.
20s are school.
I think that 20s are just the most difficult time of life. I think that I think it's a big fat lie. Like teens are hard for different years. I am not kidding when I say that I had no idea how hard my life was until I got out of my 20s.
Well, also I think
fun.
Yes.
Fun.
I think we've had some unique circumstances that have made the 20s very challenging.
For sure.
And I'm not saying like, oh, we're so special. We're like, you know, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Literally not special.
There's been, like we've talked about, like a big thing that both of us have been unpacking in therapy is like how in a lot of ways we just had to grow up too fast.
Yeah.
And we didn't really get to be kids or in different ways, but like, and how that has impacted our ability to like exist as adults.
Well, yeah, I think for me, like one, I will say a lot of the times when I think about the fact that I didn't, like, I feel like I grew up too fast. A lot of it was me and my anxiety. Like it was like me being like, I don't want to play with other kids. I want to hang out with adults. I want to hang out with adults.
I was the same.
I honestly, a lot of the times didn't choose to play because I was like, I'm taking myself too seriously.
Yeah, I grew up in this. So my dad had like 2 couple friends. And so like my sister and I and these other kids, all of us were exactly 1 year spaced.
Oh yeah.
So like we grew up all together.
Yeah,
we
cute.
went on like, we would go on like 6 to 8 camping trips a summer.
Sounds awful, but I'm glad for you.
Yeah.
I bet you
No,
liked
my
that.
dad would pick us up from my mom's and be like, I have a surprise. And we're like, what? We're going camping again? Like, no, but I
You
like
loved it.
all my favorite memories as a kid were like camping or like
you
going
do
to
make
California.
core memories as a camp. Like I hate camping, but there are memories I have where I've like never laughed harder or I've gotten in the worst shenanigans.
Yes.
There's something to be said for that. But like I remember, wait, is it the Bakers? Is that?
Yep, the
who you're talking
Bakers and the
about?
Bogues.
I remember them. Yes.
So,
okay.
So you
grew up 1 year apart.
Grew up, we like grew up in that like dynamic, and but like we would be at like one of the houses, and like all the adults would be talking, and then all the kids would be playing in the basement.
Yeah,
and I would just like sneak in basically and just go like be an observer at the table, like with all the adults.
Correct.
And all the kids were playing, and they'd be like, "Why don't you go play?" I'm like, "I don't want to. I want to just listen to you guys talk."
That's how that's what I'm saying. And like now I look back and I'm like, God damn it, Kelly, go play.
Go play.
Like but I do think that I saw this TikTok or something the other day that was like, not me playing in my 30s because in my 20s I was playing house. Yeah.
What?
And it's like,
that's crazy.
And it's common, especially for women. I think it's like we get into our, at least for me, this is just me, but like I really took myself too seriously and was like, okay, I'm dating someone. Now what's next? Now what's next? I would do the checklist.
Well, I don't know why, but there seems to be like
it's just crazy to think that like you get out of high school and you think like, oh my God, now I have to like figure out my whole life. Like when I was 18, I thought for sure I would be on my second kid by 25.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Crazy.
If you
I
do
thought I'd
it,
be
good
done
on
having
you.
kids by 28.
I also remember you saying that and me being like, oh, fuck. That's
a crazy thing to say.
But when you are 18, 28 seems so old and far and your life is together. And like you and I are both people that like we're charmers. Like I definitely was like, oh, I'm going to, it's been humbling, but I'm going to find my dude by 28. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Like again, the universe has humbled me, but like
thank God I didn't.
Thank God I didn't.
I was thinking about it actually the other day, and I was just like thinking about like, you know, like all the people I've met and dated and had relationships with, friends, like platonic or romantic, like
yeah.
And just how much I've actually learned. I was at the gym actually. I remember exactly like what I was like looking at and everything, and just thinking like about almost the perspective of like, what am I going to say when my future kid is like asking me questions about like life and dating and all these things? And just thinking like, because I think in a lot of ways, like parents can kind of like pressure their kids or like give them all these warnings based on whatever their experience was.
Yeah, is their anxiety.
I could so easily be like, oh, don't get married at this age. Don't do this at this age. You're gonna regret. Like I could so easily come to it from like this negative, like learn from my mistake, like quote unquote mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But then I was just thinking about it. It's like, no, you never know like who you're going to grow into, like what you're going to experience and like who's going to help shape you.
Yes.
Like what relationships are going to be formative for you.
Yes.
And there's no like right way to do it. Like some people do get married at 20 and that's their person.
Yeah.
Some people never find like one person. Some people have multiple, like, you know, sometimes you have a kid with someone that you're not meant to be with. Like there's just so many circumstances and none of it's right or wrong.
I agree. And I think I always think about this, like if I were lucky enough to have a kid.
Yeah.
I think it's like really easy at 30 being childless and unmarried and like a nanny. So like I watch people raise their kids from this really unique perspective. For me, it's really easy for me to be like, okay, great. I'm going to not do this. I'm going to not do that. Parent, like it's really easy to look at people raising kids and be like, homie.
Yeah.
So I do recognize that I do think that things shift when you actually birth something and love it as much as you do. That anxiety of like, I want you to have a perfect life.
I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I want to protect you from everything.
It's coming from a place of love. There's no denying that. But I think that for me, I'm hoping that this tactic keeps me in check when that does inevitably kick in, is like raising a child is a mutual relationship. Getting rid of that power dynamic of like, you do this, I'm your person to guide you. Absolutely. You're raising me as much as I'm raising you.
Yes.
If you want to go do the thing, go fucking do it.
And
I don't care.
Me having a hard time with it is me having to learn something from this.
Yes. As long as they're not going out of their way to hurt themselves or other people.
Yeah, I think you have to override instinct in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
To like, you know, oh, don't run too fast. You're going to fall.
That's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's how you have to be able, like, your kids are going to get hurt. Your kids are going to fuck up. And I just think for me, like, I need to continuously tell myself, I am also being raised. This child is teaching me as much as I'm teaching them. And so it's like, who am I? You know, I remember being younger and be like, I'm an atheist person. And I remember being like, yeah, my kids will never go to church. What if they want to?
Yeah.
What if they make their best friend in the world is a hardcore Catholic?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I didn't grow up religious and you grew up Catholic and like this is 22 years later. Like it's possible.
Yes.
And so I think that like being really open to the fact that like if you want to have a child, you have to be okay with the fact that they're probably going to have not a lot in common with you. They're going to want to go against the grain and explore the things that you don't introduce them to. You know, because whatever you like is the norm, they're going to want to go against it. Cool. I've even thought about, what if I have a kid that is 30 and still has to live at home? Am I cool with that? Yes. Yes. I would love that. I'm too codependent. I would love that.
Yeah,
please live with me.
You never have to move out.
You never have to be independent.
This is what they do in Europe.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, what is it called?
I can't remember. There's like in Asian cultures, it's like parents raise their kids so that their kids are successful so that their kids can take care of them in older ages.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I can't remember what it's called. I want to do more collectivistic cultures is what they're called.
Yeah, I was watching this documentary about what is this place? It starts with an S.
Regardless,
doesn't matter anyway. But there's tax incentives if you live within a certain mile radius of your parents.
Oh my god, I love that.
So like because it basically culturally it supports like the health. Collective, yeah, and then you get even more of a tax incentive if like your parents live with you, like grandparent age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's just like all these like all this promotion of like interdependent, like familial structure, care.
Yes.
And I love it.
I think like also, this is kind of crazy and this just might be the era of my life that I'm in right now. Like I've gone through some tough relationships in the last few years. And I also just think that if I were to raise a kid, I'm not going to talk to them until they ask me about relationships and marriage.
Yeah.
I want that to be so organic and completely their experience on their own. And I'm not like projecting in a way like my mom didn't talk to me about that stuff. She just like naturally let it happen. But like, I want my kid to approach me about those things. Sex is different. Sex, I'm going to be talking to them as a quite literally a child about it. But
yeah. And I think that's like from a safety
and just like normalizing sex. We are sex positive in this place. Go get railed. As long as you're safe about it, I don't fucking care. Your body. Do whatever the hell you want. But I think with like love and relationships, I just am really trying to think about like, how do I like, marriage is a slippery slope for me.
Yeah.
I think especially for males and females, it's like there's so much pressure the minute you realize what marriage is and that like the responsibility that comes with it and like how serious it needs to be taken. Like, I feel like my approach to parenting is going to be like, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
Go try a bunch of things and figure your shit out.
Yeah.
I'm here for you, whatever you need.
And when you know, you know.
And when you know, you know.
But then also sometimes you think you know, but like deep down you know.
Don't. Oh, yeah.
You know that it's not right.
Oh, yes, 100%. And I think that like that's something to teach is like not your goal is to get married and have kids, but like listening to your fucking gut.
Yeah. Your body. Your like,
body tells you, I'm sorry, but like I look back on all my mistakes and I'm like, there's that fucking feeling at that point, at that point.
I can pin it.
I can't believe how many times I've ignored it. Up until this year, every time.
And I think if you do a good job of parenting, like you don't condition that out of your kid. And not to say like our parents did, that's not me saying our parents did a bad job.
None of this are digs at our parents. These are just things that we're thinking about as 30-year-olds.
Like, let's just put this on the table. Like the people who raised you did the best they could with the tools that they had. And I'm so great. I turned out pretty good.
The older you get, the more grateful you get because you realize life is so fucking hard. And it is constantly throwing shit at you. I can't believe my mom had a kid at 22.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Shout out to Steph. Or 20, no, it was 22 or 23, whatever the fuck it was.
I think our moms are the same. Our moms are the same age or your mom's a year younger?
My mom my mom was born 72. Beginning of 72.
Oh yeah, my mom was born 72 also.
Same age.
Oh wait, your mom's older than my mom?
By 6 months.
That's crazy. I thought it was the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom is turning on March 23rd. She'll be 53.
Oh, that's so cute. Wait, no, 54.
No, 53. No,
53.
53. Whew,
Sorry.
Sheesh.
Alan is turning 59 this year.
I don't believe you. That's crazy. Damn, he looks good.
59.
That's crazy. He does not look 59.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Your dad's almost 60?
Yep.
I'm not ready for that. Oh my God. I just was looking at pictures because I was going through the archives. I've got some fun archives we're going to share on our socials soon. But when we went out
maybe Allison was born in 71.
She might have been September of 71.
I can't remember. No, 71. You're right. 9/11, 71.
Yeah. It's a lot of ones. Anyway, I just found the pictures of you and I at your dad's 50th birthday. I remember we went out to a bar right down the street.
Oh my God, we were both so blonde.
So blonde.
You put it in my birthday post, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That's and crazy.
Neither of us had like grown into our faces. Yeah. Again, another thing about turning 30.
I have no idea how to smile.
Yeah,
I was all cheek. Turning 30 is dope because I do feel like you chisel out.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's been in the last 3 years I'm finally like,
That's
I have
Saturn.
cheekbones.
Saturn will age
Thank
you
God.
in a good way sometimes.
I hate, listen.
Fine wine.
But it's fine. I have earned these wrinkles, honestly. We're good with it.
No, I think it's like, I am like loving like especially like the eye wrinkles, like the smile wrinkles, I think are so gorgeous.
I never thought, like, I definitely in my like mid and early 20s started thinking about like, where the fuck am I going to get wrinkles?
Yeah.
Like, where is it going to show up on me? And I'm thankful for the crow's feet.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I would be a crow's feet person. And I definitely I'm starting to see fine lines here. I don't like the forehead ones. That one I'm not super, it's just like all the time.
Oh, no, same. I saw this TikTok of this girl. So I haven't gotten like any neurotoxin in about 3 years now.
What the hell is,
like a Botox or a Dysport, something like that.
oh, okay.
This has a point, I promise. But like I used to have the craziest furrowed brow. Like, and it was just, and it wasn't the 11s, it was just one ass crack right in the middle of my brows. And it was like, I mean, from the time I was like 12, like, and my dad would be like, relax your face. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, this is
like,
how it exists.
I'm just, but it was just like always so
love the furrowed brow.
It was crazy.
So cute.
And people would ask me all the time, like, why are you mad? Like, you look upset. Like, it honestly really bothered me. So anyway, for 2 years, I would get like every 8 months or so, I would get to like 8 months to like 16 months, somewhere in there, I would get that
a little
fixed.
Botox.
Now I feel like it trained the muscle to relax, so I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
And now I'm okay, like, but there, anyway.
But there's nothing.
There's still like, but not anything that bothers me. I'm like, I don't want anything there because I'm not bothered by it.
Yeah,
if it started to bother me again, I would
I
consider
definitely am considering going just to get a little Botox.
You should have Jenna do it.
Oh yeah,
because
that'd be great.
Yeah, she would. She is like a good.
Just here.
Good price.
Here, maybe a little. I also furrow my brow really bad.
Yeah, but and the same. Anyway, so
this doesn't matter.
Saw this girl on TikTok.
Yeah,
and she was like, well, it was her like boyfriend or someone was like filming her, and they're like, bro, the fact that you have a tan line because you just look so angry all the time, and because she's sitting there like with her brows furrowed, and she looks at him and she's like, what do you mean? And relaxes, and she has 2 tan lines from where like the 11s are. And then they both just start busting up laughing, and then she does it again and disappears. Oh my God. Just so funny. And I'm like, no,
the ability to get that tan though
is
fire.
Nice.
Fire. Can't relate.
No, can't relate.
Cannot relate.
Well, no, I can.
You do get tan.
Yo, when we were in Mexico.
Yeah. Careful. Don't share Mexico stories.
No, I won't share Mexico stories. Okay. That's for another
episode. Yeah.
No, when we were walking down like the markets and stuff, and like there's like all these salesmen, they say like crazy things, like they'll like in English or Spanish, whatever, trying to like get you to come into their shop.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, "Ooh, you look like you've been here a while."
Oh my God. It's like, I love that for you, but like, fuck you.
I was like, bruh.
Like, there's something about Mexico though. Like I remember my sisters and their dad went to Mexico a couple years ago, and they had sunburns that, like, listen, I've had some bad ones in my day. I've got paper skin.
Yeah.
It was a different level. Like, they were purple. They were, and they were hurting. And Kathleen is, like, convinced that she has cancer from it, and it's so ridiculous. But, like, that level of sunburn, like, when they moved, I could feel the pain.
Yeah, Polly got pretty scorched.
Don't want that.
Yeah.
No, it's not worth the tan.
But then she like just shed, I feel like, a whole layer, and then she was like a brand new little baby.
Croatian girls.
But then she also had to like spend like most of the trip like completely covering herself. Yeah. So anyways, I did get a little pink the first day. I took the next day off, and then I was tan.
Yeah, I just feel like
I didn't peel.
Yeah. For me, it's like, I know my skin so well now that I'm like, it's just not worth the repercussions of skin cancer and wrinkles. I'm not going to do it. I'm not
interested.
If wrinkles naturally show up from smiling, fine.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm not from like scorching and being irresponsible.
I just have really, and I'm too old to care now. Like, I'll self-tan if there's an event, but I'm not going to lay out for hours on end just to go from like white to cream. Like, that's just not... It's not, I'm a ginger. It's not in the cards. It's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, we have some, I wouldn't call it tea.
No.
It's not tea.
No, it's not tea, but I think it's a really important.
It's new for us.
It is. And I think it doesn't get talked about ever.
Mm-mm.
Or addressed or actually properly handled. You guys, we had a fight.
We had a fight. I don't think in 22 years we've ever had
a fight. I think that there were times we probably felt like we should have fought. Yeah. And we just swept it under the rug.
Yeah. Like when we were kids, I remember like our parents being like, okay, you guys need to take a break for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then we were fine.
Oh yeah, we would bicker hard.
But, and we did have like, we had like a, I don't know, fight-ish a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And like, I really hurt her feelings. And I think we like talked through that, but this was different.
This was different. We were both, it wasn't someone hurt someone's feelings. I feel like that's not even a fight. That's just like someone fucks up.
Yeah, true. That's a good way to put it.
This was
like something that we had to talk through.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like be really honest about.
Yeah.
And this was something where we were both upset with each other.
Yep.
And we weren't talking about it.
No.
We were just like pushing through until it imploded. Like it imploded hard.
Big time.
It didn't go well.
No. But it also did.
It went, no. On the other side of it, I think it's the best thing that ever happened for us.
Correct.
And you're like, we needed it.
So good.
Yeah.
And I think that it gave us like, I don't know, it gave us not like the word that's coming to mind is like there's like a new freedom.
Yeah, for sure. It broke down a barrier.
Yeah.
That was really there.
That I think is like, it feels so scary to be approaching it.
Yeah. Terrifying.
Like terrifying. And I'll tell you why, or like these are my thoughts on like why I think that is.
Yeah.
This goes to our conversation that we were having last night. Mm-hmm. To have a fight in your adulthood, late 20s, early 30s, or just any time, but like especially that's where we're at. We talked about how your circle becomes more refined.
Yeah.
And it can feel more like limited or sparse. Mm-hmm. To have a argument with someone when in the past, maybe you've never had an actual argument with a friend.
Right.
And like whatever the difference is results in like just the end of that relationship.
Yeah.
That feels so scary when all you know is like, I got upset with this person. We couldn't talk it out. And now they're not in my life anymore.
Yeah.
Why would you ever approach someone again?
Yes.
When your feelings are hurt, when you're frustrated, when you're upset, when you don't want them to not be in your life.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
That's terrifying. And I think it also like, for me, it's like we both were talking last night about how like we struggle with like these like abandonment ideas in different ways. We both have these like big, it's like something that I'm in therapy. I'm just working through like my abandonment issues have determined almost every relationship I've had in my life. Every single one has been touched by this thing that has gone so unhealed. And so for me, it's so interesting being friends with someone for this long because it's almost like there's this pressure. I don't know if you feel that way. We've never talked about that. But for me, it's like, well, Chloe and I have been friends for 22 years. Yeah. Like, I can't not have her in my life. You've been in my, and like, obviously I love you.
Well, it's like you wouldn't get rid of a sibling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels is I'm like, okay, I have at this point at 30, I have like two best girlfriends, my sisters, the person I'm dating, and like a couple other people, but otherwise like that's it.
Same.
It's pretty minimal.
It's bleak. It really isn't. When you can paint it to be, but it's like,
it gets smaller because life gets harder, and maintaining relationships while also working on yourself is a full-time job.
Well, I just heard a podcast and she said life it gets harder, but you get more tools and you get better equipped to handle all the things that you're progressively being confronted with.
Correct. I just think that like, I feel like my space for like friendship, like I even think back to like 25. And like my world was my friendships. And my whole identity was having a friend group.
Yeah.
And that goes away. And I don't give a fuck about that anymore. But like, there's this scariness of like, you have been in my life for so long, and so many people, especially as of late, have like left or I had to get rid of or whatever, that it's like, I can't go through that loss anymore, but especially with you. And I think I've struggled with that personally. That's why I'm not confrontational. I'm so afraid of people leaving. And so I was feeling this buildup of like, whatever that I'm sure we'll get into. And I was just like, I can't say anything because like, I know that I'm feeling this way, but I'm going through stuff. I know you are going through stuff. We're living our lives. It's really hard out here. It's not for the weak.
Spicy.
It's spicy
a spicy
out
world
here.
out there.
And my thought has always been like, yeah, just because I'm feeling this way now doesn't mean that I'm going to get over it. I can work through it.
Well, okay. I'm so glad you said that because that I think is why
It's dangerous.
we haven't had a fight before.
Correct.
And it's because like we've been taught to sweep things under the rugs. We both come and like we've talked about, this is not shade to the people that raised us. This is just factual. We grew up in family dynamics where you don't like necessarily address the thing. Like you can get frustrated.
Yeah.
And then you take space.
Yep.
And then you collect yourself and whatever the slight was kind of dictates how much space and time you need.
Yeah.
And then you come back together and then it's all the love. It's fun again.
Yeah.
Like you can just like put it to bed, quote unquote, but it never actually gets resolved. And then you have this like pile under the rug that starts to build and it's like you're tripping over it, and, you know, and when you guys get together and it's like oh no, but it's under the rug, like the rug's over it, like, you know what I mean?
I want to clarify though that I think that taking space does work for some people.
I agree,
because I think that like with my mom, for example, my mom is someone that like when she's expressed this to me, and I really respect that she's like this as she gets older. She's recognized like when she is hurt, she like cobra strike, like bam, like I'm gonna like say something to hurt you because I'm hurting, and then it makes the fight so much worse. So there are people out there that like they need to just like step back.
Oh,
that's fine
as long as you come back together and then still discuss.
Exactly, but I'm not that way.
Yeah.
I'm someone that I'm like, no, we're gonna fix this now, or it's gonna weigh so heavy on me for fucking years. Not days, not weeks, not months, years.
Yeah.
It will, and anytime I've done that, I still feel it in the knots in my shoulders right now from things in childhood. Like I have to, for me personally, I just realized that kind of fighting does not work for me.
Like the retreating creates more anxiety.
Yes. And I'm sitting here, and while they're retreating and trying to like calm down, I'm sitting in my fucking room and I'm like, well, they don't love me anymore. I'm replaying it over and over, getting more angry. Like, and when it starts to heal, my masochist brain goes to, no, remember what happened? And it just never fucking stops.
Well, but I think that's exactly what happened with this fight.
Yes.
Is I needed to retreat.
Yes.
Because I can say some pretty mean things when I'm frustrated.
I think it's really normal.
When I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I have my moon Mars in Leo to thank for that. That's just spicy.
Spicy.
And I can get pretty reactive and say things that I don't mean. Like I truly don't mean, because I'm like in such like a seeing red place.
Yeah.
And I think that's challenging when you have two people, like someone who becomes like not avoidant, but like needs to take the space, and the other person
is anxious,
is triggered by the space.
Yes.
I've heard people talk in like relationship therapy settings about like, okay, this person needs space. This person is triggered by space. What's the time limit of how long you're allowed to take space?
I think that's critical.
Respectful for the person who is having a really hard time with the space.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. I think that, because like I do get really triggered by space hard.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that. I think that, and that's and I have to say that's my own shit.
Yeah.
That has nothing.
But on the receiving end, I also am too. Like I want to just hear it right now.
But I appreciate people, again, like you saying that, or my mom. I really do appreciate people that are like, I'm self-aware enough to know that if we fight right now, I'm going to say some shit that's going to make this 100 times worse and hurt you in a way that I don't even mean it. I literally don't mean it.
Yeah.
But then
this is like a primal part of me that is I don't have control over.
Because
it feels like.
Yeah, because I can say as someone who's a sponge who absorbs everything and feels it forever, there have been times where people have said things to me that like they became a deep-rooted insecurity. Even if they didn't mean it.
Yeah.
That is in my brain is like, oh, I'm this. I have been called flaky, and one time by a friend 10 years ago, and I'm still in my head, I'm like, I'm flaky. No,
well, because all that they did was confirm the narrative that you already had about yourself.
Exactly.
And then now it's like, well, I already thought this about myself.
And now you're saying it.
Exactly. It's so true. It's so obvious. It's so evident. I thought that I was doing a good job of hiding it. And you just like
called it out,
shattered that facade.
Right. And a lot of the times too, also like I know people that have come to me and said though, no, I'm not, I said that hurtful thing, but I only said it because I was mad and I know you're insecure about it. They don't even necessarily think it. They just know that it'll sting them most to say it. Yeah. And so I respect the hell out of people that know they can be hurtful when they're in a seeing red place and can retreat. And I really do feel like it's my own shit. Like people have a right to take space.
And for me, when I'm taking space, the other thing I have to like really force myself into the headspace is like thinking from the other person's perspective. Because when I'm mad, all I can see is my own perspective. Yeah. How I've been hurt. Yeah. How I've been wronged. Yeah. Like how you've let me down. Like fill in the blank. It's all about me. I have to take space to be able to even consider where you might be coming from and be open to hearing your perspective.
Well, and I think getting back to our fight, I will say, like, I mean, like we can get into it, but like, I think that was such a pivotal, or what made the fight so healthy was that nobody got reactive. Yeah. Nobody got defensive. Yeah. Nobody like had this moment of like, well, fuck you too. Nobody got petty. And I think that for me, like, I was like, damn, we are upset with each other, but there is still mutual respect. That I've never had that in a fight with anyone. Ever. Literally ever. Ever. No family members, no partners, no whatever.
No friends.
No friend. Okay. Fighting with your friends. Like, why aren't we trained how to do that? Trained is crazy.
No, but it's true. Trained, raised, like taught, whatever you want to call it. Like, I mean, from my perspective, like I never learned how to argue with another woman.
I had no idea how to do it.
Like arguing with another woman in my house was like screaming, yelling, name calling, avoiding, silent treatment, all the things. And it was never like, hey, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. This hurt my feelings. I need to communicate it with you.
Even just hearing that from you as an example, like wilted a little part of me inside. Like, I think that's so important when you're fighting is like, for people like, I think that I need arguments to be led with, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. You're pissing me off.
Yes. We had a follow-up conversation after our fight and like that came up and I'm like, wow, I didn't lead with that and I wish I would have. But I think that like we circled to that in the conversation.
I think the follow-up question is what all like the healing came the most from that. Yeah. I think that like when we initially fought, I think we should get into what happened, but I do think that like us initially fighting, like for me, I was in shock. Yeah. I was in utter shock. And the only thing I was doing was like, the only way you're going to get through this on the other side in the best way is that you take what she's saying and don't take it personally. Yeah. That the whole time you were talking, I was like, do not take this personally. This is something that you need to hear. And I could hear how hard it was for you to be confrontational with me. And I was like,
most uncomfortable thing in my life. Like no one in my family's confrontational. Like none of my models nothing. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just massively uncomfortable when you have a belief that ignoring it or avoiding it is just going to be the easier road when it's not.
Whole life with confrontation.
Yeah. And it's such a lie. And I think until you like rip that Band-Aid off and like have to be confrontational and like you start to like learn like, oh my God, that was so much easier this way. Yeah. Like initially harder, but in the long run easier. Yes. Because you don't have to like tiptoe. You're not playing laser tag. Yes. Yeah. When you're with that person. Yes. But it takes like actually practicing and learning it and forcing yourself like to the point where it's like, I'm so uncomfortable. I want to throw up.
Yeah. And I think that what people need to like, what I'm learning about the season of life and like, you know, there've been so many little moments of me being able to be confrontational with people, but they were people that didn't they did matter, but like, they're not my person. Yes. And so I think that this was the biggest eye-opening moment for me was that as a certified people pleaser, former people pleaser. Yes. I'm really trying to get away from that. But like I've been a people pleaser my whole life. And again, my philosophy and how I move through the world right now with relationships is that we all need to remember that relationships are mutual. We are giving and taking. It is a learning opportunity for both people. And I have done a disservice to not only myself, but everyone in my life that loves and cares for me that I never shared when I was being hurt. And because of that,
I've never had a real mutual relationship because it's always been Kelly's fine. Kelly will understand.
Yeah.
Kelly's totally okay.
Because it's never been safe for you to share it.
Never. And also though, like I will say there have been so many times where I felt too scared to share how I feel, but there have also been times that like, that's been a fucking cop out, dude. I could have told someone they hurt my goddamn feelings and it was just so much easier to work through it on my own to the point where like in the last few years, I've experienced burnout and I've just been a fucking asshole because I'm so fucking tired of being hurt and not sharing it.
Wow. I hadn't, because I also have I feel like I'm coming out of it, but really struggled in that burnout place.
Burnout is hard.
Burn out.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really attributed it to that.
Yeah. It's building up in you and you just get so tired of having to work through something alone is the most, in my opinion, most exhausting part of life. It is, you can do, just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to or should.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many times where I kick myself where it's like, if I had just said to the person, hey, this is like, it's setting boundaries. That's all being confrontational is like, I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
It hurts me.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much easier would my life have been? How much higher would my self-worth be if I had just said the thing?
Well, because, no, and you touching on the self-worth is so accurate because if you don't respect yourself and defend yourself, why would anybody else?
How can I expect anyone else to like
protect you if you can't even do it yourself?
And if I'm not going to say, hey, stop, then who am I to be upset that people continue their behavior?
Yeah.
They don't know.
No.
They can't read my fucking mind.
No.
Like there is so much like accountability that comes with like being non-confrontational. It really is like it's a personal problem.
And I think that there's a misconception with being confrontational. It is like made to feel like this thing of like, it's like aggressive and it's pointed.
I love this. Yes.
But it's just confronting an issue. It's addressing something.
Yes.
Like I wish there was like, I wish we could say like, I'm being addressional. Like, I don't know. You know, like, because like confrontational just sounds so like,
it sounds like,
and it's like, that's not what it is. Like if you break it down, like you're just like you're confronting an issue that just needs to be like talked about.
It's the same level as like asking a question for like clarification. You're clarifying. You're like, hey, by the way, this thing, like it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And like the more you practice that muscle, like again, there've been little moments where I've been like, yeah, I don't like that. Or like, yeah, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they didn't leave. That felt good. Nobody got upset or riled up. And I'm really like, my mom said this not too long ago and I like within the last year and I really appreciated it. She was like, you can be mad at someone. It like you can love someone and be mad at them at the same time. And a fight doesn't end in a blow up,
a breakup,
a leaving each other. And like, it's something that I have to really work on that and remember that. And with our fight, I was standing in my kitchen and you were sitting where you are now. And I just like was listening so intently and being like, you need to be in the moment because this is like, as much as I was listening, I also was like, this could be a learning opportunity. This could be like fighting with my childhood best friend. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a really intense thing. What am I going to gain from this? And I think that I'm thankful that for whatever reason, I had the ability to be self-deprecating and self-aware enough to remember my toxic traits or like things that I want to grow from. And that for some reason was a moment where I was like, you could be reactive and defensive and shut down like you want to, or just fucking listen to what she has to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that it's like really having the self-control to not be reactive.
Well, and I think also having the awareness to like recognize like, she's not attacking me.
Right.
She's expressing something that was like hurtful or whatever, or whatever the circumstance is. Like, it's not like shame on you for like, but like, I think it's so easy to go to this like little kid place of like feeling like scorned or, you know, ridiculed or like go to your, you know.
Like
you're bad. And it's none of those things.
And I think that for me, and maybe a lot of other people feel this way, I think it's hard when you are someone who you're so in your head and you're saying all these awful things about yourself. And you kind of touched on it just a minute ago, where it's like, then to have someone confront you, it makes it 100 times worse when they're confronting you about the bullshit that you already think about yourself. Like, so
it's like, you don't have to say this. I already know.
But that's
Please
the
stop.
thing.
It's so much worse when you're saying it out loud to me. Because I say this to myself every day.
But it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, but just because you don't want to hear it, the other person needs to say it. And if you love and respect and care about that person, you need to be able to shut your fucking mouth and listen. And if it hurts, it's for a reason. It's probably because you're getting called out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think it's important to like be able to have empathy and like consider the other person's side. And I know in the moment with fighting, that's a lot of things to have to be thinking about while someone is calling you out. That's a lot.
So much.
That's heavy, dude. But I think we should just like get into what happened.
I think so, yeah.
Because I think that people are like, we're fucking 30 minutes in and they're like, what happened? Okay, just you start. Go for it. Yeah, do it.
Okay. Also, I have a problem where like once something's resolved, I kind of get amnesia. So
okay, well,
just
I can
to be so clear.
This can be mutual.
Okay, I think we got into a rhythm with like recording and podcasting where we weren't spending any time as friends outside of recording.
Ever.
We weren't making intentional time outside of this space.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that's the setting of.
That's the base of it. The
that's
core
like
of it.
the foundation of that like set us up for everything else.
Yes, correct.
So we're dealing with that. We're not connecting in the same way that we normally do. And then I think little like, I think it honestly came from a place of like missing each other and like not having that feeling of connection, that other things like started to become little resentments.
Yeah.
Just
100%.
Like sprinkle this here, there, whatever.
Little tiny things that in the moment, I think both of us were like, let it go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part.
Yeah.
To the
Relatively speaking.
best of our abilities. Sorry guys, I just bumped the mic. I don't know if that was too loud. So then, okay, on the backside of this project is like, you know, things that need to be done, right? Like we plan meetings, we get together, like us plus our producer Polly, like we'll have like team meetings. We need to like make videos for socials. We need to like plan what we're going to talk about, when we're going to record, when we're all out of town, like coordinating of schedules. Like there's all this kind of behind the scenes work that has to go on to be here with you guys.
Podcasting is not for the light. It's not a fun little thing. It takes work.
It takes work. And there's like a lot of coordination that goes into it when you're dealing with like 3 different people. And that's a small team, you know, like I cannot imagine having any more people than that.
Props to people that do it. I can't.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And like, as you're starting something new, like you don't know what you're going to run into. You have to run into it to know like how things are going to get divvied up, how things are going to get like, you know, like basically assigned to different people, like different roles, right? Like you don't know what you're going to need until you get into it.
Yes.
And those things kind of like present themselves and develop as you go. I kind of like fell into the role of like doing a lot of like our socials and like kind of like online promo, I guess would be the best way to put it. And I'm trying to think like, and Polly like handles the like editing and whatever. And I think I started to get to a point where I felt like this was a lot to carry on my own.
Yeah, totally.
And we had set out with the intention of sharing it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I think that that's important to mention. But the schedule and like kind of structure that we created was not realistic at all. From like my perspective, I felt like I was doing all this by myself.
Yeah, you were. You were.
But I also at that time couldn't see it outside of my perspective.
Right.
I couldn't see it outside of like, well, what would be a barrier to you like sharing this with me? Like I couldn't see that at all. I was just like, well, I guess I'm just going to do this and we're not going to acknowledge it. And it's just going to be fine. And I'll just at some point, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that feeling started to trickle into our interactions.
Yes.
And I think that there started to be like a, like instead of when we're talking, instead of like seeing each other as like something to celebrate when we have like a different perspective or different opinion or whatever, we had like built up resentment and then started like almost like judging each other or like being mean to each other or like whatever digs at each other for just having like a different perspective. When before this, we celebrated that.
Yeah. It was no big deal.
It was no big deal. And it wasn't like threatening to our existence.
Yeah. And I think also this is like, I was thinking about this not too long ago. We've been friends for 22 years, but this is the most time we've spent together since we were in grade school.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge win and massively impressive that like we have been distanced for the last decade essentially. Yeah. And we talked about doing a podcast for years, but we kind of jumped into this.
Yeah.
Like we were like, I remember it was last May. We were like, oh yeah, like what if we just did it? Like we're both home. We're both back in Portland. Like let's just do it. Yeah. And by June, we had put out our first episode. And that
was 4 weeks from conception to, I mean, not conception, but like actually taking it seriously.
Right.
To like, well, what if we actually?
Right. What if we just did it?
Yeah.
What if we bought and then the next thing you know, we're buying equipment and I was excited for it. Like I am someone that I like feel I need to be creating at all times in some capacity or I cannot function. I cannot be a person. When I'm creating, that's when I'm most mentally stable.
Yeah.
And so I went into it. This is my perspective. I went into it ignorantly. I've never done this before. And I think I'm someone that I'm used to thriving in chaos. And I look back at this time and I realize that I was setting myself up to be living in chaos for a very long time. Like we started a podcast. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then I knew that I was feeling unhappy in my relationship and I could feel a breakup coming. And then I had just moved a couple months prior to the podcast and I was thinking about going back to school. And my nannying contract with the family I'd been with 2 years was ending and I had to start a new one and look for a new job.
It's a lot of change.
I did it to myself though. And it's like, I'm so used to the chaos that it's almost like I was bored with the stability I had for like the previous year. Yeah. And I was like, all right, time to shake things up and make your life as hard as possible. And so I took on too much at once. And that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the fact that I am working on it in therapy. Like I have, for some reason, become accustomed to chaos because of my 20s. And like also like it's not like I had a chaotic childhood, but I moved a lot as a kid. And I do think that feeling of like needing constant change, I think that's okay. But I think there's a healthier way to do it than what I was doing. And so I was welcoming all of this. I was really unhappy and uncomfortable with my life. And I was like, well, maybe if I shake things up, I'll feel better. I'll feel something. Because we were just talking about, we both struggle with anxiety and depression, but you take on anxiety more. And I struggle with depression, struggle. And so I took on this podcast being like, yeah, like this will be my thing. But then I was like, yeah, but like, I want to break up with this dude. And like, yeah, I want to go back to school. And like, it was all, so the summer was fine because it was like, I hadn't broken up yet. I hadn't started school yet. It was just us.
Families yet.
I hadn't switched families yet. Like all of these things were coming, but I didn't have to think about them. I could just do the podcast and the summer was great. Yeah. This was a new project. We were so excited. Our creativity was just like bam, bam, bam. Yeah. And that was a rush for me. Yeah. Then school started. Then I went through a breakup. Yeah. Big, heavy, hard one. Then school started.
And then you switched
And then I switched jobs and I started working. I had to say goodbye. Again, abandonment issues with Kelly are not great. Saying goodbye to that family was harder than I told anyone. It fucked me up. I started this new job with a new family, totally new setting. So it was just me being in this state of like, I felt like I was in a room, a tiny little box covered in spikes, and I was just getting like bounced off the walls, like poked. I was overstimulated. So then it was like, I felt all of this change that I had set myself up for come and crashing down on me, like the results of them. And I was like, I don't have the thing that is going to take the back burner automatically is a creative project. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck do I care? And like they can just pick up the slack, and like I'm not a socials person anyway. Like I'm not good at tech. Like, that really isn't my thing. But like I stopped giving two fucks. And the thing where like I do stand by, like I still am overwhelmed. Like I'm probably not going to go to school for a while. I went to school too soon. All of this was too soon. I am so overwhelmed, and I'm struggling with depression so hard, and I'm just not okay right now. And so for me, like it takes everything I have to take a shower more than twice a week right now. Gross, but true. My brain cannot, I want to say could not, like it's in the past, but it's even now.
Yeah.
It's real. I just can't. And I'm okay saying that because we've talked about it. But the problem is I was struggling and so overwhelmed and devastated by my existence that like I couldn't, I was just like, you know what? She's got it. And I know this is wrong. I know that I'm not. I knew I was not pulling my weight, and I was letting it happen. That's what I'm not okay with.
Yeah.
I'm okay with being overwhelmed. I'm okay with it being too much.
Yeah.
I have to give myself grace that I'm doing my best. But I knew I was falling short and was letting it happen and not talking about it.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's where like everything kind of had come to a head was I then became overwhelmed by like just like the managing of everything.
Well, and I do want to point out, like, I don't know if you would want to say this about yourself, but like you have been so communicative about like, I tend to be put in this position where I have to take on this like almost mothering or like bossy role. You've expressed that to me for fucking years. I know that about you, and that is a huge insecurity of yours or frustration is like, I don't want to have to do everything, but I feel like I do because, you know, people aren't carrying their weight. And I do think that there's like a part of that is like your anxiety comes through and like control and like you need control. But also I know that in our instance, girl, I wasn't doing anything. I can't do anything. You know? And so I think that it was like this, you were being put in a position where you felt like you had to take over. But I do think this was an instance where it wasn't necessarily you being controlling. It was like, oh, she's just not doing anything but showing up and talking. Okay, cool. You know, like shit has to get done. It sounds stupid, but until you're in the moment of podcasting, there's a lot that goes into this.
Well, and another thing I'll say is like, I know and I knew at that time that like this project is so important to me and to us. And I knew that whatever we were going through, like, wasn't as big as the bigger picture of this thing that we've created and like in so many ways love.
Yes.
And I wasn't willing to like let anything go to the wayside because I was so focused on like, okay, we need to keep the ship afloat because we're going to figure this out. I knew that. I didn't know how, but I knew we were going to figure it out. Because of how we both operate.
Right.
And I knew that like, I just needed to like kind of carry the load for right now until we figure it out. That's like what it felt like for me. But you are totally right. I think I go into a place of like, okay, like I know what needs to be done and I'm capable. So I'm going to figure it out.
Right.
And then on the other side of that, like I became resentful because I felt like my free time was spent like making like socials clips and doing episode planning and like doing the calendar. And so then I became resentful that like what, from my perspective, what appeared that like you got free time. And I know that to be like so different, like you're drowning and you needed a moment. And I said this to you, like a few years ago, I was put in a similar situation where I like had a relationship ending. I was working full time. I was going to school full time. I was on the precipice of a move and a big life transition. And at that time, I was very active on socials and like making creative like astrology videos on TikTok. And that went to the back burner. And I honestly haven't picked it up again since. But, and like for me, like I had been in school full time and had to take on work. You were working full time and had to take on school. It's like the inverse of the same thing.
It's impossible. It's not impossible.
So
it's
hard.
It's really hard.
And I said this to you like after the fact in like one of our other conversations, but like, because I had said to you when we had our initial fight that I just need to say like, I feel resentful that like you get to have like free time and hang out on your couch. And like, I feel like I haven't had that in years. And that's also like my own thing. That's not your fault that I haven't had that. But the other thing is that like, I recognize like when I was going through that time, I was absolutely drowning, and I am now 2 years past that. And I feel like I'm just now starting to recover from the amount of stress that I put on my body, just trying to make it through.
Yeah.
I would never wish that on anyone.
Yeah.
That amount of like stress and pressure and inability to like take care of yourself and to rest is nothing anybody should do.
Yeah.
And the fact that like, I think where it was coming from was like, I was like, well, I had to do that. So like having like almost like no empathy for the fact that that was a terrible time. And like, I don't want you to experience that. I want you to have rest.
Yeah.
I want you to have time to yourself.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to recharge.
Yeah.
I want you to feel healthy mentally, physically. Like I want that feeling for you.
For sure.
And to put my own like projection of like, well, you can figure it out. You can do it. Like, it's just a season. Like, no.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just because it's like what my experience was doesn't mean it has to be
Totally.
anybody else's. And the other thing too, that I know I said when we like were having that initial conversation, that initial like actually having it out, was that like, I don't want to put my productivity wounds on you. That's not for anyone. I'm working through that. I'm trying to let go of that. Like letting myself rest, giving myself a time off, not judging myself for like, quote unquote, not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because rest is very productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like having those old narratives come up of like, well, she just gets to like hang out. What? Like, and that it was more just like showing me what I wanted for myself.
Yeah, totally.
And I was jealous that you got to what from my perspective. And
Like,
I'm not
what
saying
was
this was
going
your experience.
Yeah.
But like from my perspective, it looked like you got to have something that I wanted to have.
Right.
And that I've spent so long trying to like recover from.
Right. And it's crazy. Just like this, I think that what this highlights is how important, like, I carry so much shame around the way that I exist in the world, but like, it's just so crazy to hear that, because if I had just opened up or I like talk about this in therapy all the time, that it's like, I yap a lot, right? Like I can talk forever, but like my therapist said to me, I think it was last week, she was like, you're talking, but are you really saying anything? She was like, because the thing is, I know.
That's a call out I wasn't ready for.
Shout out to Kara, my God. But she was like, have you ever considered, other than the fact that you definitely have raging ADHD, she was like, have you ever considered that maybe you talk so much as a filler so you don't have to share what's really going on? Again, fuck you for the call out, but like maybe.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but it's like, if I could just communicate and be open and honest about and let go of the shame of how like I am just predisposed to be depressed. I am. There's nothing, it's my genetic makeup. I never learned how to ask for help or how to like openly talk about it without shame. And so, you know, that's the thing is like you like said, like, I wish that I had the ability to rest or whatever when we were fighting. And it's like, girl, if only you knew I'm sitting frozen on my couch, unable to do anything.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I don't have any sort of autonomy.
Yeah.
So while I'm resting and not doing any of my homework, and I'm right now 14, my homework is due on Wednesday. I have 14 assignments to do Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do it.
No, it's like the
fail.
paralysis of the overwhelm,
It
you know?
Exactly. And that's the thing is I'm paralyzed with crippling depression and anxiety. So it's like, I can't get these things done that I went into debt for. And I'm going to fail my classes and have to take them all over again and pay out of pocket because I can't figure my shit out. So like doing a podcast where I'm not getting like, of course I'm getting so much out of this, but I'm not getting like a grade so I can earn more money.
Yeah.
I hit, like, my depression has made my self-worth so low that it's like, well, why do I deserve to play? why should I play and have fun with this creative project if I can't get my work done? So then what I do is I sit right here and I stare at the floor for hours.
Yeah.
The TV will be on. I am staring at the fucking floor, or I'm rotting on
in a
TikTok.
shame spiral, judging yourself.
Or feeling numb. And so it's like, so in that moment.
Like a dissociation almost.
Yeah. And so when we were fighting, and like I do it every night that I like am alone, that is what's happening right now too. I'm not over the hump. We got through our fight. I'm in the same fucking place. It hasn't gotten any better, but I think in the moment what helped is that it was really eye-opening. I'm so in my own head, like to have someone from an outside perspective be like, this is what it looks like, asshole. It looks like I'm over here spending what little free time I have making fucking TikToks while you're sitting on your couch watching TV. And it's like, if I have to find a way to communicate, like, this isn't, oh, I'm depressed. This is, I am not taking care of myself. That's tough. So it's like, I think that like I needed to have this fight as like a wake up call that like I have to ask for help, or just be like, hey, here's what's up. I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
I physically can't, you know?
And I think something that is hard for me that I think is also hard for you is to feel like you're letting someone else down.
Dude, I can't.
And that is, I think, worse than anything else. It's like one thing to feel like you're not able to take care of yourself. Like you can't figure out how to get out of this cycle.
Yeah.
And this, what feels like a just absolutely downward spiral. And then to not only obviously be letting yourself down, but I mean, you know, quote unquote, who cares about that? I always let myself down. You know, it's like one of those things.
I can work through that. I'm used to that. That's just a typical Monday.
Yeah, that's just the theme. But then to have other people get caught in the crosshairs of my bullshit is one of the most...
Other than hurting people's feelings, it's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. Hurting someone, oh my God. And then to let someone down, oh my God.
I truly would rather be dead. I can't handle it.
It's so painful.
But I think it's also why I do keep people at an arm's length. Like if I don't tell people how much I'm struggling, then my stupid bullshit can't hurt them because they're not close enough to me to be affected by my shit. Mess.
Yeah.
But like we're in a creative project together. I can't keep you at arm's length. I mean, you're also my best friend, but like we are in this together, and we have kind of like the thing about being on socials is that like being on socials and on the internet holds you accountable. You have to show up. You have to show up,
or it just doesn't,
work.
Yeah.
And like you said, at the end of the day, I love doing this.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
If I could just be a full-time podcaster and be paid to yap, my life would be awesome.
Yeah.
I just think that it was a humbling moment where on my end, I took on too much at once.
100%.
But I'm not going to quit.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And I think that shows the tenacity and why this is what it is.
Yeah.
And why we've like decided to do this together, why we work so well together. I think we both have that kind of grit. Like, it's always been kind of hard, you know?
It's always been hard. Talk to me about, like, what were you feeling? What was going on in the lead up to having a conversation? Like, what was your, like, I know what your breaking point was, and I don't think we need to share the details of that, but like, I know that I did something hurtful. Like, the gist of it was like, you worked really hard on making all of these TikToks, and I, via text, made a comment that was supposed to be a joke that was very hurtful.
Yeah.
Was that your breaking point? And then what did you decide? Like, how did you decide I'm going to confront her, go about it? Like, I think talking about that is important.
Yeah.
Like walking through what you were feeling leading up and then in the moment, like confronting me.
Yeah. I think, so for me, like the group message, like the podcast group message was kind of becoming like another trigger.
Yeah. It was a dead zone because Kelly wasn't responding.
Yeah. So it felt like if I said anything in that message, like you weren't going to respond.
Yeah.
And then only like if Polly shared something, would we maybe get a response?
Yeah.
So that was hard. And then I'd have to like, it was like, I think us trying to like, and having so many flops with trying to just plan a meeting was for whatever reason so challenging during that season. None of our schedules were cooperating. It was just becoming so challenging. And
I didn't want to.
To
be honest.
Yeah. And I think there's just like when there's like that undertone of resistance.
And people can feel it.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you didn't at all. And so that was kind of like a tone. And then, so feeling like, okay, like I can't get anything out of you. I'm trying to like make this collaborative and I can't get you to collaborate is what it felt like.
True. Yes.
And I think it was just like the combination of like, okay, I'm doing all the socials and then I am also trying to be doing all this planning. And then on top of that, like I can't get a response. And then now, like, I think something that I'm already feeling like maybe nervous or insecure about, like just got made fun of. And I think all those things like swirling together. And then I think people can feel it too. Like I think a good stretch of our episodes, like things were just tense, like just tense. Like there was just like almost this like animosity, and like you could just feel that we didn't respect each other.
I feel like there are certain episodes that I've gone back like in the last like month or so of not working on the podcast and just watching it. Fucking awesome. And there are episodes that I wish we could make it disappear, where I feel like when one of us is talking, the other is waiting for an opportunity to attack or make something into an attack.
Yes.
Or like a dig. Not an attack. Attack might be a little bit drama.
But it is like, what it is.
Yeah, like a dig. Or like we're not even listening to each other because we're just like, oh my God.
Rolling our eyes, like scoffing at each other.
Yeah.
And like I heard this thing. It was like this couple was talking about their like an argument or like their patterns when they're arguing, and the like girlfriend had said like, "You're not listening to hear me. You're listening to respond."
That is one of my biggest pet peeves.
And I think we were doing that.
We were doing that.
We weren't hearing the other person. We were very closed off to each other.
Yeah.
Because I think we both felt like threatened by the other person. And like because we were constantly just like digging at each other, constantly like attacking each other for how the other person is existing and like making them feel like we were both doing this. Like I was fully engaging in this cycle, like making you feel bad for how you live your life.
Yeah. No, I was doing this I think it's like something I've definitely learned from this is that this is a personal thing. This has nothing to do with like you. I'm not saying this about you at all, but I don't know how to disagree with people about political things.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
It's really hard.
I don't know how to do it. I have like, I'm like this incredibly opinionated person in general. That's how I exist. And there are certain things for me that I am learning. If I can't figure out how to like let it go or like and this is generally speaking.
Yeah.
When it comes to politics and like the world, if I disagree with someone, I don't know how to just like not engage. Like if I feel like someone has opinions that are not aligned with mine, I get into like this very defensive mode. And I think that, and it comes from a place like I have to hold compassion for myself, that it's like, it's because I care so much and I'm glad I'm not apathetic. But I do think that like there is this, like the world is really hard right now. And I'm seeing a lot of people just kind of be like, everything's so overwhelming and everything's so hard. I do think that it's okay to just focus inward.
To kind of disengage.
To disengage a little bit.
I've had to do,
Yeah, and I'm hyper engaged and I need to, and it comes from a place of like doom scrolling on TikTok because of my depression. I'm trying to escape and it's like, and I want to escape. Imagine the discomfort. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm so uncomfortable because it's like, I'm so depressed and I'm struggling so hard in my personal life that I want to escape via socials, but my socials are full of what's going on with this country and the world. Both are terrible.
Yeah.
I can't find a peaceful place.
Yeah.
I can't.
Where do you go to just exist and find peace?
And I think that because I haven't found that peaceful place yet,
and I'm hurting so much, it's like we would talk about things that we disagree on and I would just go in and it was a lot of projection. And regardless of how we feel about certain things, like I do think there needs to be a way to either like we just agree to not engage in those things because like whatever, or we have to disagree respectfully or disagree in a way and recognize it's not that deep and we're friends for a reason. And it's like, I just was so like resentment was building up and we both weren't talking. And so I think we both were getting our feelings fucking hurt and it wasn't funny. Like the jokes weren't funny.
Yeah.
It was not funny. It was like we were hurting each other's feelings so bad. And like, I feel like I can be I have a lot of empathy and I'm so afraid of hurting people. But like, when we had our initial fight, it was not even on my radar. Like, and I carry a lot of shame for this. And this is when I was kind of like, you need to wake up and listen. It wasn't even on my radar. I was hurting you. It was on my radar. I wasn't carrying my weight. 1,000%. I knew it. I knew that that's what you were going to confront me on. I knew that you were going to call me out and I was ready for that because I'm saying I was not I wasn't doing anything, you guys. I wasn't doing jack shit. Could not get a response from me. And I live on my phone and was actively not responding to the group because it was too much. But I had no fucking idea I was hurting your feelings because I was so wrapped up in how I was feeling and like my hurt feelings and feeling attacked. And you have to be able to do both. Like, I think that when you're fighting with someone, especially a friend, it's like, I'm feeling really hurt. And if you're feeling really hurt about something or you feel like they're treating you a certain way, it's for a reason. It's probably because they're hurting too. It wasn't on my radar.
Well, and to also like add to that, like, I don't think it was on my radar how I was hurting you. Like,
for both of us.
Like, I was able to recognize like when it came to like the responsibility of the podcast that like, okay, yeah, you have a lot going on. There's a lot of life change that happened. I just went through this. I know what this feels like.
Yeah.
And I can give you grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like, I know.
Yeah.
And that was where I was able to like, without like talking to you, where I was able to see your perspective and like kind of by taking that space, I was able to get there. Where I also didn't see is where I was also hurting you.
Yeah. Neither of us thought about it.
No, because we were just so hurt.
Yeah. And we were so hurt and we were just in this place of like, it was just defensiveness. And for me, for some reason, like wanting to be right.
Yeah.
And I think again, that has everything to do with like my shit. Like from my perspective, I know this isn't the case. I am in this place of like victimhood really hard right now. And I'm just like kind of sitting in it because I think I need to be gentle with myself. I'm in a fragile state right now. But it's like, I just want to feel something positive. And it's so hard to get there right now that it's like, maybe it would feel good to have a win. And then having a win turned into being right. And so then it turned into, we're doing this fucking podcast where we're talking about quote unquote taboo things. And it's like, well, they're controversial. I feel I'm right in my opinion about them. And instead of this being a mutual conversation, it's going to turn into me pushing back on everything that she says or making these not so subtle digs. And like vice versa, us digging at each other. Because I just want to feel like I have a win in some aspect of my life.
Wow. Yeah.
I just need to know that there is something that I can win because everything else that I want to be on top with, it's not happening for me right now. So if I could maybe win an argument with someone who is my mutual, who is very smart, who's someone I admire in so many ways, then maybe I can feel something again.
It makes me think of the conversations that we've had about black and white thinking.
It's so dangerous.
And how there's such a...
I'm terrible about it.
Like a or overlap when it comes to like the winning feeling. And I think that black and white thinking feeds into that feeling. And something I heard is like, if you are wanting to win something, that means you want the other person to lose.
Yeah.
And I've had to think about that for myself. And because I totally totally understand the feeling of like, no, I'm right. And it's so funny the way you said, because I love that you said these words specifically, like I'm right in my opinion. Like an opinion is, it can't be right.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that speaks so perfectly to that feeling. Like you have an opinion, you have a worldview, you have a belief about something and how like something should or does function, whatever it is. And to like, to be so like steadfast in it, I think is a really positive thing. For a long time, I felt so insecure about the fact that I didn't have like strong beliefs in anything. That was really hard for me. I remember like being in my early 20s and like people would want to talk about like the state of the world or about politics or about religion or about whatever, like, you know, all these kind of taboo big life things that are challenging because everybody has a different perspective. And I remember feeling so insecure because I didn't know what I believed. And I felt so lost. And it was a huge insecurity. Like there's people that I felt like they're so educated, they're so intelligent, they're so like articulate. And I don't know enough to be able to engage with them. Like I know if I open my mouth, it's going to be so apparent that I don't know jack shit. So like growing up, getting older, like having life experiences, like recognizing like experiences, what gives you like a leg to stand on and like a perspective to have.
100%.
It gave me more confidence to like be able to like speak my mind. But with that comes like this shadow side of like being afraid to speak it, because when I was a kid or younger, like to speak up for myself or to like give it a different opinion or whatever was like, it was a dangerous thing to do. So then like now in this setting that we're in now, like that was like not safe to do. And then I'm like also trying to still do it. And it just was like activating so much deep-seated stuff that I wasn't ready to like confront. And I think when you have these things that are activating deep-seated issues, they're deep-seated because they are from like a younger place, and it's like that younger person in you is like what's responding and what's coming out. And then you have these feelings of like, I like don't recognize myself. This isn't how I act. This isn't how I behave. This isn't how I engage.
I was just going to say this.
And I feel so embarrassed by like how I'm talking, how I'm responding.
Like this isn't me.
Reacting. To feel reactive. Like that has been one of the hardest things for me in the last couple of years, because I feel like I got to a place when I like moved away and was living in Arizona and like all this stuff, like I felt like I wasn't in a reactive place anymore. And then I came back here and we've talked about this, and I know I've said this before, but it's like, were you healed or did you just remove all the triggers? And so then to come back to this place that like has so much unhealed stuff, it's like, and then to reintroduce all the things that are activating. Of course, I'm going to feel like I'm in high school again. I'm going to feel like that middle school kid all over again. And it's just like, I think the safest place to exist in that setting is to have like a black and white way of thinking about something. Like this is how it is. And you need almost that structure and the confines and the boundaries of there's no wiggle room. This is what it is, because it creates a false sense of security.
I think it's interesting with like black and white thinking. I talk about this in therapy a lot. Like it is one of my deepest things I need to heal. I don't know where it came from. I don't know the roots of it yet. I know that it's bad because I don't even want to analyze it because I don't want to go there. I don't know why I'm such a black and white thinker. I didn't realize it was as bad as it is.
But I think it's like a safety thing.
No, it is. It is. I'd
be curious to learn more.
I also would, because what I was thinking about though is that like when we had our fight, you know, so much of like the theme of it on my end from my perspective is like, you disagree on things and therefore you're angry. There's no gray. And what's interesting is that I think it's really hard to put into words, but I think that it's just a glaring obvious thing that like I am surrounding myself with people who disagree with me for a reason. And I think it's because I need to unlearn the black and white thinking.
Whoa.
So like you and I disagree on things and we have a fucking podcast together. That I think is supposed to be me learning to not think so black and white and surround myself with someone who disagrees. But then also the person I'm seeing right now, him and I have very aligned political views, but he is someone that his whole life, like he's been critiqued for quote unquote playing devil's advocate, or he just like, even if he agrees with someone, he always pushes back the other perspective to an extent, unless it's like glaringly, like obviously like terrible. He's always pushing back, and he's explained to me like in the moment, I get fucking annoyed with it. And I'll be like, he'll always say, well, to be fair. And I'm like, I don't want you to be fair. I want you to be on my fucking side. I say it every time.
Because it feels like
pushback.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sometimes I don't. And like, I stand by that. Like it's a trigger. It annoys the fuck out of me. And it's like, he has so many times been like, stop thinking black and white. You're putting people in boxes. You're putting me and everyone else in a box of like, if they don't align with you, then they're wrong.
Yeah.
Stop it. Yeah. And it's like between our fight and this, and then dating someone like this, I'm like, I'm obviously subconsciously surrounding myself with people who push back on me for a reason. And then I was thinking like, yo, my whole thing is like, I feel like I'm really good at being able to see all the sides of everything because Libra. Great, I can see the other side and I can try to think how the other person is thinking, even if I don't agree with it. But I'm getting mad if someone disagrees. I understand what they're thinking, but then I'm mad at them for thinking that and not agreeing with me. There's some growth there, babe, that needs to be done.
Wow.
Holy fuck.
Well, what you're saying is like, I think we both, like being air signs, I think that is such a strength of an air sign, is to be able to see all sides of a thing.
I can. Always.
I pride myself on it.
I also do. 100%.
But it is, I think, possibly the worst thing to then have like strong feelings against what the other person is saying, thinking, whatever, or arguing or defending when like you believe differently. I don't think there's anything like more, like it feels on a fundamental level, it feels almost like a betrayal. Because it's like, I mean, everything you just spoke to, it's like, I can be so objective, but then it's like, but this thing, it's like, no, this is where like, this is how I think on this thing. And until you have evidence to prove otherwise, I'm not changing my mind. Which I think is, like we talked about, like there's a strength in that, but like, it's just, I think just betrayal. Like it just feels like we're not aligned. Like you're like, and I mean, if you think about like on a what is the, like an evolution standpoint, like to have someone be so contrarian and think so differently was a threat to your life.
Yeah.
So I think it activates that response.
Well, and I want harmony. I can't. If we're going to talk astrology, that is the most Libra cliche, is that we move through the world wanting things to be harmonious and like cool. I think that's really beautiful and pretty and like has a nice bow on it. But where I think there's a toxic side to that is that if things aren't, you can't ask for harmony if it means everyone agrees with you. And if I fundamentally feel like someone's opinion is like harmful to another person, where what I need to work through is like, I'm allowed to feel that way, but that doesn't mean that I get to project on them and argue. I'm not the person to engage. And I think because I'm so uncomfortable right now in my life and upset in my life right now, it's a lot easier to engage in things like politics than it is to like address the fact that I feel like I'm not alive right now, that I'm not living, that I've stopped feeling anything positive. That's heavy. I don't want to do that. I want to fight with you about politics because that's a lot easier. And then I can get angry. And if I can't feel joy, at least then I can feel anger.
Well, and it's a lot easier to, and it's a lot easier to like make the person who is like disagreeing out to be like something else. Like I think
vilifying them.
To make them the villain. And I think it just comes from like a fear place.
Yeah.
Like you're just afraid of like not like from what you don't understand.
Yes.
And like, and that's all that it is. It's quite simple.
Yeah.
But it's like, it just feels like such a bigger threat.
Well, and I do think that we are in this, like, I mean, this is getting bigger than like our fight, but I do like, for me, like, I am someone that like, a huge part of my depression is like the state of like the world and the country right now. It's weighing on me.
Yeah. There's like such an overwhelm.
Well, yeah. And I do think that like I am someone that like I have to be in the know. I am envious of people that can set a boundary of not engaging with the news.
Well, but I think from like you're saying you're in such a state of overwhelm, I too am in that. But it's like for me, it's like I'm just completely disengaged from it because it's too overwhelming.
I'm jealous of that. Yeah. That feels like you're able to set a boundary. I think there's a limit to where it's like turning a blind eye. But
I feel like I'm not like super informed either.
Right.
But it's like, but I also like, we've talked about this a few times, but like the capacity that we have to take in like the amount of news that we get, like we're not equipped for this amount of information.
I think that you and I are black and white. I think that there needs to be a gray area of like, yeah, know what's going on, know why like
whoa, yeah,
eggs are $20 right now, but also that doesn't mean that you have to read every fucking article
about it
or like get into like, I know way too much now about the economics of the United States of America because I can't shut my phone off. I am not sleeping because of my depression right now. And I just lay awake all night. And even if I'm not on my phone, I'm thinking about it and I'm spiraling about it. And like, there has to be a breaking point. And I feel like I'm almost trying to hit my like as bad as I can be so that I break and then can rebuild. And so I just, to bring it back to you and I, because I think we're getting too much on the grand scale of things a little bit. I just do think that I need to learn to disagree with people, and it doesn't mean that they're going to leave me. And it also means that I don't have to be reactive and that it's just an opinion. And I think that for me, like I need to not let someone disagreeing with me or me disagreeing with them outweigh all of the good that they bring to my life.
Well, and that just made me think of like when we were having our fight, like I cannot give you enough credit about the way that you responded.
It's crazy.
You created such a safe place for me to be able to share those things.
It's never happened, just so you know. It's the first time.
But it just speaks to your growth, dude. And like a thing that we talked about, there's two things I want to say. So like you were able to just sit there and let me talk. You never cut me off. You never interrupted me, and you just listened. And I could tell there was like a couple things that I said that like I think were like definitely hard when they landed.
Yeah, for sure.
I could feel that. I could read that.
Yeah. For sure.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
But you still just like let me talk. You never cut me off.
Yeah.
And then you responded with like, I know, and I'm so sorry. And like and you just like the way you just took like full accountability, you still were able to, in taking accountability, still effectively communicate like where you're struggling, where you were also hurt without it being an attack back on me from a defensive place. It was more like let me let you in on this. Let me paint the picture. And then we got together several days later, and then you being able to like bring it up again and like, and really like rehash it in a way, from like I
think a more grounded perspective. I think you and I both, again, were like in shock.
We had to mull it over.
Yeah.
And we needed some time to sit with like everything that was said.
Right. And I think that really, though, I will say, like, it's hard to take compliments, obviously, and I do appreciate it. But I think that, again, it was like just this moment of like, this is too important.
100%.
This is too important to let your shit take over. I've never had that until that moment. Just for the record.
Yeah.
I get very defensive.
And,
I fall in myself. Yeah. Like I want to, like I felt the armor coming on slowly as you were talking. And there was this one specific moment where like, for me, I think this is important why listening to people, like if you're going to fight with a friend, if you care and love about someone and you are in a relationship with someone, please prioritize when they are opening up to you and sharing their vulnerabilities, because it worked in my favor so well in that moment, because I was watching you talk to me. One, I watched your chin quiver. Can't. I saw that and I was like, this is hard for her. This is hard. This is brave. People don't do this. And she is getting real ballsy, confronting me about not only a creative project, but like calling me out in my space. Not easy to do. You weren't even in the comfort of your own home. We weren't in a neutral place. You were in my house confronting me. I realized that. I was like, that's impossible. That's a vulnerable position to be in. I saw your chin quiver and I was like, oh man, she's putting it all out on the line. I need to fucking listen to her. But what I also know about you is that it has been so incredibly painful and damaging throughout your whole life not being heard. You have told me that throughout our lives.
Yeah.
Not feeling heard. People hearing you but not listening. Right? Like you have all these thoughts, you have all these feelings, and we're both people that like maybe overexcitedly over-explain things, but that we have something to say. And you were saying these things and there was one half of my brain that wanted to be like, I'm fucking leaving. I don't have the capacity for this. I'm fucking leaving. I've got a person that I'm dating that's on his way over and I could just go to the movie and not fucking deal with this right now. Or I can recognize this is my oldest friend. We're at a crossroads, not to be drama, but like we're at a crossroads here. Not only with our fucking podcast that we love, but like our friendship. We've never gone through this. And it's the first time in my adult life where I'm like, this is an opportunity to use the tools I've learned in therapy.
That is, exactly the next thing I wanted to say was that I recognized when we were having that conversation that the things we were fighting about was not the place that either one of us were in anymore.
Completely. Yes, 100%.
So that was an added factor because it's like, okay, I'm upset because of like, I'm re-listening to old episodes or like I'm getting like, I'm getting feedback on episodes that we recorded 2 months ago.
Yeah, same. Yep.
I'm
we were getting the
re-listening
same feedback, which is a bad sign.
Yeah. But that like made it that much more challenging because it's like you're not behaving in that same way now, but we have to go back and address this because we can't leave it
we can't sweep it under the rug.
We can't sweep it under the rug. We can't leave anything unsaid. But also in that like amount of time, I think both of us had such like leaps and bounds in like the way we engage with other people.
Yeah.
And I said this too, like, I think when we were texting about it after, but it's like, how on earth could we expect to be having all these personal like revelations, all this personal growth?
I know you're
all these like doing so much work on ourselves and have that not impact the way our dynamic fundamentally exists.
Could not agree more.
Like, of course it had to change. Duh.
No shit.
But like, it's just so wild that we were so like almost like nose to the grindstone in like our healing.
Yeah.
That we kind of forgot that like, and of course, like, it's just hilarious. Like looking back, it's like, of course, but like both of the relationship, like romantic relationships that we were in changed.
Yeah.
Our career paths changed.
Yeah.
Our way of existing, our home, our like everything changed.
Yeah.
Of course, this is going to have to shift and adapt to how we exist now.
Yeah.
And how we're learning to operate.
Well, and I could tell too, I think that's where the mutual, like on my end, where when like you were confronting me, I had to take a pause and be like, I need to be listening to her because this is important. But also it was so glaringly obvious that you were not there to attack me. You communicated in such it was like this perfect balance of like taking care of business and standing your ground on like, hey, I feel disrespected. I feel like I'm being done dirty a little bit here. Fuck, what are you doing? But then also just listening and being like, okay. And I knew that you actually really thought it was okay once I explained that to you. And it was like, I think that's the thing that's so dope about fighting that I learned from our fight is that it turned into us being able to have empathy and compassion and understanding for each other. That we hadn't had that conversation ever.
And we hadn't given that to each other in...
I don't know.
Honestly, I can't remember.
I don't think that we've had an opportunity to do that in so long. Like, if you really think back, like, our relationship shifted for the better and got to a new level of closeness during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But in the pandemic, I do think that we were trauma bonding.
100%.
And I do think that was, I don't regret that.
No.
That was necessary.
We needed that.
We needed that. We hadn't done that before. And I think that we both needed each other and were there for each other.
If I did not have you when I was going through everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here. I know that.
No, and we've said that time and time and time again.
I will say that forever. And I've never been so sure about something. Like, I know it. And so, like, I think that was so beautiful. And I think that where we went wrong is, like, you moved home. We are together in the same city. We haven't done that in forever. And everything was inevitably needing to change. And we both were, I think we've been so uncomfortable because everything else in our lives has changed. Like, for me, I wanted us to be the only thing that didn't change so that I could rely on it.
So it could be something familiar, something safe. And I'm so glad you brought up the, like, the distance part of things and now living together, because I don't think we knew how to be friends living in the same place.
Completely.
We haven't really done that ever, except for when we were kids.
And, like, we're 30, dude. We've changed so much.
Thank God.
Thank God.
But in the same way, it's like there's almost like this, like it's all this change, but it's almost like a return to self.
Well, because we're both we were just talking about, I think before we were recording, or no, during, it's been so long now. This might be a 2-parter, but like, that, like, we lived our 20s. Oh no, it was in this episode. We lived our 20s playing house. So now we're trying to revert back to, like, remembering giving ourselves a childhood that we threw away in our 20s.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like this really
like
beautiful
exploring and the autonomy,
having a sleepover, like doing those things is so, like, I just think that it's really magical that you moved home at a time that we're both looking to do that. And we both are working on that in therapy. And I think that, like, we just never took the trigger or like took the opportunity to be like, yeah, okay, so let's play.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to, like, we made the podcast our entire friendship.
Well, and we tried to play with this podcast, but then we both were so, like,
we stopped being friends.
Well, and we were so, like, in our own trauma about, like, not being able to play that. We didn't know. We're like, oh, we can play doing this, but then we couldn't figure it out.
And we made this work.
And we made it work.
Because productivity trauma,
well, you know? And I also think we should talk about some of the things that we decided that we want to, like, do differently going forward.
I was just going to say that. Like, I think that what did we learn? I think we just went over. But then, like, going forward, how do we maintain a healthy friendship?
Well, a big thing that we decided, and I think this is, like, I think it's so easy to do this in a romantic relationship. Mm-hmm. And I've never done this with a friend.
Well, because, again, I can do romantic relationships.
So
I can't
easy.
do friendships.
It's so
I don't know how.
hard.
It's the hardest.
It's not actually, but it's just foreign.
It's foreign. You can't treat a friendship like a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
There has to be, like, its own special work and effort.
Because it's just like, there's just, like, a different level of intimacy in a romantic relationship. And that intimacy is just so different in a
It's
friendship.
different types of intimacy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's so important to say. So we talked about, like, okay, we have to, above everything else, prioritize time where we are not recording and podcasting. Like, completely. We need time to connect and be friends before
first.
we can do anything else.
Yeah.
And we've even talked about, like, because we have, like, we both kind of have, like, our own little, like, sets of friends outside of our relationship that both of us know those other people, and both of us have expressed, like, oh, I would love to spend more time with your people, or, you know, you would love to spend more time with my people.
For sure.
But, and you drew this boundary, you said, yes, but we need us first.
Always.
And I appreciated that so much.
Yep.
And so we decided, like, because something that we've talked about is, like, how fun it is to, like, watch, like, a show or a movie with someone who's just as engaging.
Yes.
And responsive, reactive, like, not in an angry way or whatever, but, like, in a way of, like
they're passionate, like you are.
Passionate. Yeah. Excited. Yeah. And, like, you're like exchanging, like, comments and looks, and, like, you're going through this, like, experience together. Is so fun.
Yeah. It's a love language for me.
Exactly. And we spend so much time obviously talking. That's never gonna stop. Professional yappers.
Yeah.
I think you have to be paid to be professional, but
we'll get there.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's happening.
Amateur yappers.
Yeah.
Okay. We're in the yapping Olympics, because you can't be certified yappers.
I think we're certified yappers.
Because I think, like, in the Olympics, like, you can't be, like, paid. Like, you can't be a professional, so you can't be getting paid.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, I don't know, because, like,
NBA.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, do they get paid? I don't fucking know. I just watch them because they're fun to watch. I have no idea.
I think we've lost the plot.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that we decided going forward is like, we're going to pick a series together.
Yeah, which we need to do.
Which I have a list of a couple in my phone. I've been taking recommendations from some of my coworkers.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
And I think you'll like them.
I obviously
one
will.
of them, you've probably already seen this, but The Sopranos.
I haven't. I've always wanted to watch it.
Me too.
We're watching it. We're done.
Okay,
I've
so we're
always
gonna
wanted
do
to
The
watch
Sopranos
it.
together.
No, it's on my list. Congratulations, guys. You're on this journey with us. I've wanted to watch The Sopranos
Forever.
We're watching it.
Okay,
and that's
perfect.
a good long one.
Yes.
Like that will be like if we're
Years.
getting together once a week, like, yeah, that'll be like a year.
Yes.
Longer.
So
Cute.
we decided that we're going to have like weekly dates, like getting together. I'm going to come over. We're going to watch our show together and just have like a girl time.
Night. Yep. Yeah.
Girl night, and like prioritizing that like that new ritual.
Yeah. It's almost it. And I think I said this when we had, which I do want to touch on, yeah, we agreed to have like a ritual. And I think that when we feel like it's almost like not starting a friendship over, like the history is always there, but there is such a difference in our lives now versus like our past that it's like we almost have to like rekindle or like form a new bond. And so I think that once that bond is so solidified, that's when we can branch out.
Yeah.
And like, hey, you come to my mom's for whatever. Hey, let's come over to Cody and Taylor's.
Until this is in a solid place, there's just too much like
animosity. I think that it would be a distraction and like
overwhelming.
Like, hey, like, yeah, we're always going to be, I want to feel connected to you so well.
Well, if you think about like any like life change that you're trying to make, like this is just the easiest example I can come up with. Like you're wanting to start like this new like workout routine, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like you're dating someone new or going on vacation. It's like, it's so hard to like stay to that like ritual and that like accountability thing, because it's like, oh, well, I'll just get back to it. And then you're constantly trying to like get back into it.
Yeah.
Because you haven't actually dedicated any like, what's the word? Like not will, like I can't even find.
I can't think of the word.
You haven't dedicated any like time to it basically or made it to be this important thing.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like the approach that we're taking here is like, no, we need to like solidify this, make this muscle memory.
Yeah. And make each other feel like a priority.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's the thing is you and I have gotten into this place of like, oh, well, yeah, like it like, if like I have this thought, which is terrible, and I'm sorry if it hurts you, but like, oh, if I have to reschedule, like Chloe will understand.
Right.
And it's like, no, I need to not do that.
Because I think we both get in the place of like, I just can't exist. Like I can't be around anybody. I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired.
Yes.
I need to hermit.
Yes.
But we've proven time and time again. And now it's to the point where we know better.
We do.
Like we know that sometimes this is actually what we need to be doing and not isolating and retreating.
Oh, I'm isolating terribly. And that's why, I mean, I told you that last night. It's like, no, like I need to be around people and I need to just like swallow my pride and like, I need people around me right now. And what's crazy is that like, I have a lot of people in my life that have really good reasons to like not be super present right now that are really valid. And you are the most available person in my life. And yet I've been pushing you away and I don't even have the full reason why. Right. So like, I just am like, why am I pushing away the person that if anything could be the most understanding of what I'm going through right now? We always talk about how our lives are like our whole lives. We've been on the exact same path, just like 1 or 2 degrees off.
It's so weird.
It's really creepy.
We'll do a full episode on that.
We'll do a full episode. It's on
like
our
the parallels.
list. Our life parallels are very, very spooky. And so I don't know why. And it's frustrating. And so like what I want to touch on before we like wrap up kind of is that I think for me, the most healing part in this, like one coming up, like making a promise to each other was really important in healing for me. But I think that it's like we had our fight. And it was like kind of weird and rushed because like I was going to a movie, so we had to put a time limit on it. And like I remember you leaving and me just like feeling so
like stunned.
What the fuck? I felt like I got hit with a taser gun or something. Like I was like, holy fuck, what just happened? I think I just fought with Chloe. I can't believe that. And then it was like a week and we texted each other after and we were like, thank you so much. And like all of that. But I remember having this thought of like, that felt too polite. And like, I just really want to like take this week, but then I don't want to do polite with you.
Yeah.
I want to come back to this and make sure that everything that was said because we weren't able to give appropriate time, you know?
And I think that there's something to be said for being able to collect your thoughts
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Like being able to like take it all in and really think about what you feel about it.
And do I feel the same?
Yeah.
Like a few days later.
Exactly.
You know?
Do I feel the same? Do I feel like, has my perspective changed?
Yeah.
Do I have new information now?
And did I get defensive and I didn't realize it? And now that I've had some time, because like that's the thing is I say that I don't want to take space, but we confronted it initially and then did the space thing. And that was really good for me.
I think so. And I think because like we didn't text each other that same day after, we waited a day, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
And I also think that was really important because I think it's so easy to do the like, I love you so much. Like, thanks for listening. Like, you know,
the best.
like right away. And like a love bombing.
Yeah. Oh,
Love bombing.
wasn't ready for that, but you're right. Yep.
And I think we both knew not to engage with it in that way and give it a beat.
Yeah. I was genuinely in shock. I was literally like, I can't believe that just happened. And I can't believe I'm not more upset. I had to work through that I wasn't, that's how I knew that we needed to do that because I was in shock. I was like, I can't believe that happened, but I wasn't as mad as I normally would have been. Mm-hmm. And I was able to reflect on that. And then we got together to record.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, and like, you know what was like so magical and special, and I felt to fight with someone and feel the healing right away is crazy. I remember you came back that week, we recorded, and I was like, well, I understand. Like usually like we record and you leave, right? And because like there have been moments in this podcast where it's like, you know, you have set really understandable boundaries of like, yo, I got a fucking job. Like I got to be out of here by a certain time. I prioritize my health and my sleep. You guys should see this girl's sleep routine. Fucking crazy. I will never get over it. But, so like I've always been try to be mindful of that. And I remember that night I was like, well, I mean, yeah, it's a Friday night, but it's like 9:30. You probably need to go. And you were like, I don't need to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, you want to hang out?
Yeah.
And like, we just like sat and then we ended up talking for 3 hours.
Yeah.
After podcasting, you guys. And like, we revisited it and we just like said all of these really little, soft, gentle, beautiful things that I think we were too shocked to say in the initial fight and didn't have time for.
That is the perfect way to describe that follow-up conversation. It was so soft.
It was so soft.
And so gentle.
It was the loving part of it.
It was. And that's where all the healing came from.
I couldn't agree more. It was the follow-up conversation where I was like, we're good.
Yeah. And I am in hindsight grateful that we had such a finite amount of time for that initial conversation.
Yeah, because
we just had to say what needed to be said and then we had to be done.
Yeah.
And I think we wouldn't have had the softness.
Yes.
And the healing had we had longer to like hash things out.
Yes. I think that that would have given us the opportunity to go to a nasty place or a back and forth place. Like there was boundaries.
And I've never had a conversation go like that in that way that like felt it healed something that I didn't know needed healing.
It was a really big, like what I will say about it is that it was a really pivotal moment for me where it was like, oh, this was the confrontation I needed to have. This was me having a moment of honesty with someone who means a lot to me. And as much as I don't want to do it, I've never had a relationship feel so leveled up. Right. And what's crazy is that I had this thought last night. The promises that we made to each other or like the things that we wanted to fix, I saw them happen last night even. Like I haven't seen you for a month because we've been traveling and whatever. But like last night we were like, oh, well, let's try to do 2 birds, 1 stone with recording. And I remember and then hanging out. And I remember having this thought of like, God damn it, we haven't seen each other in a month and we're still trying to prioritize recording.
Yeah.
And instead we set up the studio, did not record and hung out as friends. Yeah. That to me is because we healed
7 hours.
For 7 hours. Like we had instead of recording, we had a friendship night.
Yeah.
Which
was so
fun. And we played. We had a sleepover.
Yeah.
We like just talked and bullshit and like, you know, I like did some drugs and it was super awesome.
Same.
And like, yeah, like we just like had this moment and it was just like so much reconnecting. And I think that had we not had that fight, we would have been like, all right, let's just get into it and record.
Well, I think this has also been just like such a pivotal shift in like how we approach relationship in general.
Correct.
Because I think, and this is kind of, I guess, I think the last thought I have before
we got to wrap up. Yeah.
But I think you and I have a long history of being like serial monogamous in our romantic relationships.
Correct.
And I don't think it's bad, but I think this is the pattern that we have prioritized those relationships.
Correct.
Over every other relationship.
Right.
And I think now we're both in this place where we're like reapproaching how we get into romantic relationships.
Yes.
It's not this all-consuming savior.
It can't be.
Person.
It can't be.
And we're finally like, I don't know, like maintaining our autonomy when it comes to our romantic endeavors, that person isn't our end all be all everything.
Yeah.
Where we actually have the space to feed this relationship.
Correct. I think, it's like having the lived experience and emotional, I mean, I'm not a mature person, but like enough emotional maturity to be like, I think I said this to you last night. It could have been a fever dream. We were up late, but it's like.
With your founding father ponytail?
Okay, bonnet. Don't even. Yeah, she sleeps in a bonnet. It's crazy. And an eye mask and earplugs. In a throne. You watch yourself where it goes on socials. I'm just kidding. I never do that. That's crazy.
Well, you lay flat like a corpse.
I don't sleep with a pillow. Also, my neck is really hurting today. Now I'm questioning if it's because I don't sleep with a pillow. Fuck. I feel like I outed myself and my terrible sleeping habits to you last night. But I said this last night that my relationships have never, ever gone well. And obviously. And so I'm like doing the opposite of everything I've ever done in relationships. And I think that a huge part of that is like, I cannot have a fulfilling romantic relationship if I'm not full, and I'm not full without community. And my community is small, and that's crazy. But it also means that because it's small, I can dedicate more of my time to it. And if I don't do that, everything will fall apart. I am an extrovert. I have to have those people.
And I think having the small community is kind of based in like spending intentional time and having meaningful connection. I can't imagine having this type of connection with more than like 3 people.
Fucking absolutely
not capable.
I
don't
no
want
energy.
to.
No.
I don't want that many people to know me that intimately.
I also don't like that many people.
For real.
I'm sorry. I don't.
I have like you, and I have like 3 more friends, and I'm so okay with that.
I'm so good.
I'm so good because I feel like I can like deeply and meaningfully connect with someone, and I've given everything I can, and I've received as well.
Yeah, and it's like so honest and raw. It's not surface level. It's like deep. And I will say also, like, I'm not trying to call myself out. This is just a feeling I've had, and maybe like I think I am someone that I like use my social media as a highlight reel, and I think that I've always used our friendship as like a bragging right. It's felt like an accomplishment of like, yeah, look, like
it is an accomplishment.
No, it is. No. Don't get me wrong. I don't.
But I just it has to be said. But please,
it is an accomplishment. But I think that
it's more than that.
It is more than that. But I am someone that like I struggle with abandonment, and I think I've used our friendship as like a no. But look, there's someone that stayed for 22 years. Look, social media.
Yeah.
But I haven't done the work it takes to maintain. I use it as a bragging right without actually doing the work to maintain a 22-year long friendship.
Whoa.
I will just like post pictures from our past and then be like, look, we've been friends all these years. But then in real life, not on Instagram, we haven't been engaging or investing in this friendship.
Like 5 months.
For months.
Yeah.
And so I think that who the fuck am I to post about it in that way, but not do the work to make sure that my friend of 22 years
6 months,
feels loved, supported, and like I'm invested in her. So I think it's like I want to invest in the way that I present our friendship to be on Instagram. Yeah. I want that to be honest.
Yes, because otherwise it feels like you're just living this.
I'm participating in the thing that I hate, and it is like people lying on socials.
And
like,
it's why you hate it so much.
It's why I hate it.
Yeah.
It is why I hate it. It's because I'm doing it, and it feels gross.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think we deserve better.
I think that's such a good like thing to highlight.
Yeah. We had a fight. And
we had a fight.
I think it was the best thing that ever happened to us.
100%.
And I have to say that like our episodes that we posted since the fight, I think there's only been like one or two.
Palpable shift.
I've gotten comments on it.
Same.
Like
people
Kathleen
gone out of their way. We have not. I have not brought this up. I usually do not bring up this thing.
Never.
It's just
Never.
Unless I don't know. It's valuable. Whatever.
Yeah.
It is important to what I have to say.
Yes.
I let it speak for itself.
Yes. Yeah.
The right
Same.
people will find it.
Same.
For people to go out of their way to reflect and share their experience is something I'll never get used to. But then to be for it to be so apparent and so obvious.
Yeah. Well, and for context, I told no one.
Correct.
Our producer, your sister and next door neighbor, Polly, had no idea that we had a fight.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And like my sister watched, I think the last episode that came out, and she was like, wow, the chemistry has shifted for the better. And I was like, I feel, we feel it too. Like, I think that it's just so important, like for me, like moving forward, like remembering how it felt in our hardest times recording, and that I never want to go back. Like it,
and also
keeping
though,
that
to
respect.
give ourselves credit, we kept showing up
through it all.
Yeah.
And I do think that shows 22 years of friendship, and that like we are so dedicated to each other. It's just, it wasn't being done in a healthy way where we were continuing to work at it. Yes, romantic relationships and friendships are very different. It's different types of intimacy.
To feed it.
But it doesn't mean you don't have to work at it.
Yeah.
A friendship is just like a romantic relationship. You have to put time and energy into it. I stopped doing that.
Same.
I stopped.
Same. Like I put no like additional love, and I didn't pour anything else into it.
Same.
I was just like letting it just exist in the corner.
I never felt more disconnected from you than I have in the last 6 months.
Correct.
I was just like, we're going through the motions.
Exactly. Like I'm just showing up. It's just like
Sitting
we're
on the
not
couch.
even like, we weren't even really updating each other on like truly on each other's lives. Like, yeah, there's the big ones, but like there was no like
Day-to-day
connection.
Yeah. And like just laughing and giggling and like saying the things and like
Playing.
Yeah, I remember last night we were like talking so much back and forth, and I was just like, I don't even care. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying words. We're just at one point, guys, Chloe's mouth stopped working. She was just like talking, and then she was like, what just I don't even know
I
what
never
happened.
glitched so hard. I questioned whether or not I was human. I felt like a robot that just like had a factory default problem.
It was so good. Like I think that I felt like both of us were just like, we're not going to be here. We're not going to be polite. We're not going to just share the highlight moments. We're going to just talk and exist.
I think that's one really important thing to highlight is like you've called us out so much on being polite.
I hate it.
It's so gross. It does not feel good.
If you're being polite with your friends, something needs to be addressed. There's a difference between being respectful and being polite.
Correct.
And I think that
because when you're polite, you're not being vulnerable.
Yeah.
You're not being honest.
And you're thinking about...
You're like blocking connection.
Correct. I'm not here to be polite to you. I where I lost my ways, I stopped being respectful.
Same.
Of the fact that we have differences.
Yeah.
And not like, and going out of my way to like not be excited when you're excited to hurt you because I was hurting.
Yep.
And vice versa. But I think that like to be like, I don't ever want you to do the, how are you doing? You should already fucking know.
Yeah.
If you have to ask me how I'm doing, then we have been disconnected and we need to we need to check in. Don't ask me how I'm doing. Like you should know.
I can feel it.
Yeah. I don't need you to be asking me that because then it feels like we're having small talk. I can't do that with you.
I get angry with small talk.
I fucking hate it.
Triggers an anger response.
If you're someone that's going to ask me how I'm doing, I'm getting to a point in my life, unless it's genuine, there's a difference between like, dude, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And how are you doing?
Yeah. Different.
You don't deserve my time. I'm not giving it. We're not close enough for me to answer that question. And that's why I always just say, I'm good.
Yeah. That's why that's the default.
I hate that shit. Don't ask me. If you don't know, then tell me we need to check in. Do that.
Okay.
I think we should wrap it up because
I think we should.
Let's just touch. Boop, boop. Yeah. If you're fighting with your friends, you'll get through it. And listen to them. Listen. That's all I'm going to say. Listening is the most important part.
And be honest. Don't be polite. And say
the hard thing.
Say the hard thing.
Say it.
Say, I feel judged. I feel hurt.
I'm jealous of you.
Yes.
Say you're jealous.
That is the most, like, I think that one, like, statement, I think got us a lot of ground.
Yeah. I think that we were jealous of each other in different ways. And I think that and this goes for romantic relationships too. I am someone that like, I am a Scorpio. Jealousy runs deep in my veins.
Yeah.
I have learned and I've built the deepest connections with people when I have let go of my pride and just said, I'm fucking jealous. If you are having envy over a friend, which you probably are, just fucking, it's okay to be jealous.
And all it does is just like show you what it is that you want.
Yeah. It's a learning, everything is a learning opportunity. Yeah. I'm sorry
you see
if that's
something
tired.
that someone else has that you want. That's what jealousy is.
So reflect on it and then tell them that.
Exactly.
Because then it's going to make them feel like, I understand. I see where you're coming from. And thank you. In a twisted way for me, like when someone says they're jealous of me, I'm like, bitch, don't be.
Thanks.
Oh my God.
And then also too, it's like my mind goes to like, well, how do we get you the thing that you clearly want?
Let's work on this together because we're friends and I want to be there and support you to get you to that point. Yeah. Tell your friends you're jealous. Tell your friends you're struggling.
Yeah.
Fucking don't isolate
Tell your
yourself.
friends you're struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. No promises, but like we're going to get there.
No, we made promises.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to get there, but we don't know anything. We're not trying to be preachy, but like we had a fight.
And I think we learned so much.
I'm so thankful for it.
I feel so safe and secure in this.
I've never felt bad. The weight that was lifted, you have no idea how much it was weighing on me. It's insane.
Oh, no, I do. Because I was also carrying
Oh my God. I just didn't realize how much it was affecting me. Holy
fuck.
It was
ruining my life.
It was ruining my life. Not to be dramatic, but I'm also dramatic. Okay, we got to wrap this up.
We got it. Okay, we love you guys so much.
That was
Thanks
crazy.
for listening.
Yeah. No more fights. And if you have fights, it's going to be
fights.
okay. Yeah. Fight. Fight, babe.
It's healthy.
Let's fight. You want to fight right now?
Not really.
Yeah, not me. It's too early. Give me some time. Let me take a nap. Yo. Yay. Oh, fuck me. 10:23.
I know.
Crazy.
Okay. Oof, 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 oof.